So today I wanted to look at the roadmap for the rest of the year for Marvel's Avengers. They released it at the beginning of September. I know it's a little late, but I kind of want to take a look at it now, especially because now we can see how it's played out so far in comparison to what they showed off. So this released at the beginning of September, not too long after War for Wakanda. It was kind of in celebration for their 1-year anniversary. Now, the first thing on the list, I should say, talk about is the 1-year anniversary itself. So the 1-year anniversary was celebrated with kind of like these small events, if you want to call them, nothing new stage-wise, but it was the daily priority missions, I remember, was one of the main things for one half, and then the second half was like the upped chance for the cargo runner synthoids, or the loot bots as I like to call them. So these were a great chance to get gear, so I'm all honestly for this. There's nothing wrong when they give an increased chance of getting gear, especially when the gear grind can feel a little tedious, especially when it comes to exotics, because you can only get exotics every so often in the current state of the game. So with the daily priority missions, being able to get exotics every single day for at least one character, that was a really smart choice in my opinion. So now, the second thing that's shown on this roadmap is repeating events, so like literally almost all, I should say, of the events that's been going on since the release of Hawkeye, so like back in April with the Tachyon Anomaly, and then the Red Room, Cosmic Threat, and then with Corrupted Vibranium with Black Panther. All of these are supposed to be returning. Now, what is kind of interesting about this is, so obviously I'm making this in the middle of October. This dropped in the beginning of September, and as far as I can see, none of these events have come back yet. So that's kind of curious. If the rest of this is supposed to come out before the end of 2021, I don't know how much time they're going to take releasing these repeated events. And I mean, since they are repeated events, I don't really consider this good content. It can be good for people who missed the events at the time. I'm assuming when you complete the events, you have a chance to get at least the same nameplate, or at least a similar nameplate that's to the theme of the event. So it could be good for players who missed that event before, don't get me wrong. And with these events do come more chances to get exotics, but overall, since they are repeated events, they're not new. I don't necessarily see this as the best thing in the world for them to do. Now, with this as well, they have bonus experience weekends, which I'm assuming is those weekends where it's like from Thursday to Sunday or Monday. They do 4 times experience, which if you pop a experience catalyst, that can help you a lot with leveling up your champion level, your normal level, whatever. It can get you up fast, especially if you do nothing but play that whole weekend. You can get up a lot. So I do like those bonus experience weekends. So far, since they've released this roadmap, they've had one of those. So they've had one of those so far to celebrate the game being put on Xbox Game Pass. So I would definitely like to see more of the bonus XP weekends. I would say hopefully at least once a month. I would prefer it twice a month, but once a month I guess would be fine. So the bonus XP weekends are not bad at all. So now I would say that we're getting into the bulk of what they really announced with this roadmap. So we're getting into the Claw Raid and the power level increase in Spider-Man, right? So these are probably the most anticipated things that are coming with this roadmap. Now, I forget if I've said this already, but the one thing about this roadmap is that it's not split up into months like how the previous roadmap is. So it only has September on here. The rest are for fall and winter. Now, I find this to be a bad aspect as well, because it doesn't give players anything to look forward to, like specifically. Like, we can look forward to Spider-Man, the Claw Raid, all that, but we don't know when it's coming. So we're just kind of sitting in a limbo, just waiting for them to feed us information, which is not really the best thing in the world. But the Claw Raid, I would say, is very anticipated. It's supposed to be way harder than the Omega level threat, the Super Adaptoid Omega level threat, so that's very exciting. I will say as well, they said that the power level cap increase should be going to 175, I believe, and I believe that's also coming in tandem with the Claw Raid. So the Claw Raid should have a power of 175 to the point where if you haven't gotten your gear to 175 before attempting the Claw Raid, it's going to be either you won't be able to do it at all, or it'll be damn near impossible. So that's definitely good to hear. I am interested to see what they're going to do about the power level increase, because they said that they're trying to find ways so that you can bring your lower level gear. So like if you got gear at like 130, which is obviously the minimum it can be when you're at end game is 130. So they're trying to find ways supposedly to bring that power level 130 gear with you to 175. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I am interested to see what they come up with. The only thing that I will be disappointed though is if they do it in a way that's like you just have to spend more resources to get it that high, because if whoever else is playing endgame, they know all too well that, like, especially for exotics, when you upgrade a piece of gear from power level 130 to 140, it can take a lot of upgrade modules and a lot of stuff like that. So your upgrade modules, when you're upgrading this type of gear all the time, can run out very, very fast. So I hope they either find a different way to upgrade the gear to 175, or if they choose to just keep on doing it that way, that they find a way to give people a lot more upgrade modules, because that would solve the problem right there. If we got more influx of upgrade modules, because they're not necessarily rare, but they're not the most common thing ever. You would have to just kind of just farm gear to dismantle all the time. So I honestly hope that they just find another way to do it, because I find that just upgrading it from 130 to 175 would be boring. So, but we'll see what they decide to do. So, and then Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man's coming to PlayStation, not Xbox, unfortunately. It's a PlayStation exclusive. The reason why I think the Claw Raid is more, I should say, anticipated, at least I find the Claw Raid a little more anticipated, is because Spider-Man is only coming to PlayStation, so he's not coming to Xbox. And then the Claw Raid is like actual content. Not that Spider-Man isn't content, because Spider-Man can add a lot of play value and a lot of play hours, because you have to get him to 150, you have to get him to power 50, whatever. You have to try to get the best builds for him. But as far as I know, I don't know what is going to come with him. They said that he's going to be an event, so like obviously something will come with him, but I don't know how much of a story it'll be. I know it will be a story. I don't know how much of one it'll be though. As far as I can see, it's not going to be like Operation level like even Hawkeye's or Kate Bishop was. So I don't know if that's kind of a bad sign or what. I don't know if they're just going to reuse like some New York, Manhattan stages for his story or what. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be like. So apparently as well, moving on to the Disney Plus thing all the way to the right. So it says there's going to be a Hawkeye nameplate challenge, like a Disney Plus collab type thing. So this is cool, because like having any type of collab with things that are ongoing in the MCU, I think is really cool. The only thing that's kind of disappointing with this is when I first saw this roadmap, I honestly thought it was just a straight up Hawkeye Disney Plus collab. But now looking at it again, it says a Hawkeye nameplate challenge. Now that's kind of disappointing to me, because that tells me that it's most likely just going to be exactly what it says, which is just a straight up challenge to get a new nameplate that I'm sure references the Disney Plus show. That's just really disappointing. Obviously, I mean, I don't know what the challenge is going to entail. I'm assuming when it's a challenge, it means like kind of like a mission thing that you can have in the background. Defeat a certain amount of enemies with Hawkeye, defeat a certain amount of enemies with Kate Bishop, whatever. I'm assuming that's what it's going to be like. And all of that for just a nameplate. I'm sure the nameplate will be cool. I mean, especially if it's animated. But at the end of the day, it's not like an actual event. Like, it's not a new stage. It's not like anything like that. So, in my opinion, that's just not really up to snuff with what they should be striving for either. Now, the other stuff that they're going to try to do before the end of the year, they're upgrading the entire gear system, which is obviously going to be in tandem with the power level cap being increased to 175. I'm interested, besides obviously the power cap being increased to 175, I'm interested to see how else they're going to make the gear system better. I am hopeful. One of the main things that I'm hopeful for the gear system, well, I should say two things, right? The first thing that I'm hopeful for is for them to have like a stat reroll, so that it would save so much time when it comes to gear grinding, right? Because you could get a piece of gear with just the best perks. You could get that chance of taking damage, grants a damage buff. You could get the best perks on a piece of gear, but the stats just don't match up. So if they implement some type of system that allows you to, like, even if it's obviously, it has to be in exchange for something, because it can't just be all take. So, like, I would say it would even be reasonable to say, like, maybe 50 upgrade modules or something at a time. You can spend, like, 50 upgrade modules to re-roll the stats of one piece of gear. I feel like that would be really beneficial, because if I'm trying to go for, like, a high precision Iron Man lab and it had no precision on it, and I can just drop a quick 50, or maybe try a couple times 50, 100, 150 upgrade modules, and then eventually I'll get that precision stat on there, and it could even be high. So the reroll system, I definitely believe will be good. So if they implement something like that, that's definitely a plus. The second thing that I really want, it looks like that they're at least thinking about it, but they didn't actually do anything with it as far as I've seen, because it's in the new inventory UI, is loadouts, right? So in a lot of my build videos, I've shown, like, switching between pieces of gear and stuff like that, and I think it would just be really beneficial. Loadout is already in the game, like, as just a menu option in the inventory UI, like I said, but you can't actually select it. So if they just make, like, the loadout option, like, accessible, you know, so, like, if I have, like, a defensive build with Hulk and I have that equipped for, like, the entirety of the Omega level threat or the Claw raid, and then by the time I get to the raid boss, I equip, like, a nothing but offense build, and then I just, you know, output as much damage as possible to kill the boss as fast as I can. So I think that would be really beneficial to a lot of players. It would save a lot of time if they want, like, to switch between gear to output the most damage as possible. So I think that would be a smart idea. Earnable cosmetics is interesting, right? So a while ago, I honestly forget how long ago it was. I want to say maybe back in March or April, maybe around when Hawkeye dropped, they got rid of the in-game cosmetic vendor, which a lot of people have been upset about, because you currently, unless you buy cosmetics from the marketplace, you have literally no way to get cosmetics in the game like that, unless they're from the God, I forget what it's called, the patterns, the cosmetic patterns, which is obviously random, and you can only get so many cosmetic patterns in the game before you just basically stop getting them. So earnable cosmetics, I'm honestly curious as to how they're going to do this, because I hope they're talking about also the in-game cosmetic vendor that they took away. However, I know they're talking about more than that, because they were already saying stuff about how they're trying to figure out ways to earn marketplace cosmetics through in-game actions. I honestly have no clue how they would do this. I don't know if they would just implement a way to do more things in the game to get more, like, credits that you could then use to buy stuff in the marketplace, or maybe if there are specific cosmetics in the marketplace that have certain challenges attached to them and that's how you can earn them. I'm not entirely sure, but especially now when they're playing with stuff to earn, like when they're playing with stuff to earn cosmetics that cost actual money that people have probably spent money for in the past, they're gonna have to make however you earn them pretty hard. I would say you would have to do a lot, which, I mean, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with, because at the end of the day, it would still be a free way to earn something that would otherwise cost money. So I think that's a good move. Then obviously at the bottom, all big, right? Outfits inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, MCU outfits are always good. I mean, everybody who's familiar with the game knows that you have to buy them in the marketplace with actual money. It is what it is. Cosmetics, I mean, this is a AAA game that's a loot grinder. That's usually just how it goes, usually with these type of games. So you have to buy the MCU skins in the marketplace with actual money. They have released 3 already. They've released the Civil War Black Panther suit. They've released the Mark III Iron Man suit from the original Iron Man movie, and then they've released the Infinity War Captain America suit so far. All of these suits look great, right? And I mean, in my opinion, all of the MCU skins have looked great. I know there has been some controversy, I should say, with, like, things like the hair not being accurate, or like Thor not wielding the MCU Mjolnir, or I guess stuff like that. And then obviously the latest one with Infinity War Captain America is he doesn't have the Wakandan shields. Well, at the end of the day, when it comes to stuff like that, well, first of all, I know with Thor, in Thor's endgame outfit, in that case, they did say that they tried initially to change Mjolnir to Stormbreaker, actually, but it broke the game. So that's what the word on the street was, is that they tried to implement Stormbreaker, and it was just too much. The game couldn't handle it, and they just wanted to get that outfit, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as possible, because all the other endgame outfits had already come out, so that makes sense, right? Now, as far as the Captain America shields go, I mean, you got to think about it this way, right? Like, he's mainly, throughout the entire game, obviously, he's using the one shield. Like, he's using the round one shield. The way the physics, like, literally the way straight physics works on that, there's no way they're going to implement like a big ass Wakandan shield and placement of that. And obviously there was no way that they were going to be able to give him the double Wakandan shields on both arms, because if they were to do something like that, it straight up it would have to change his entire gameplay up, and that's just not something that they're doing right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I would actually be for them doing something like this in the future. There's actually been a lot of fan-made concepts where like Stormbreaker or something for Thor can be like a major artifact, and like he switches out Mjolnir with Stormbreaker, and like for a certain amount of time, like let's say 2.5 minutes or something like that, his like move set changes. Like that would be something that's cool, right? Like I would like something like that, along with something like for Cap with the Wakandan shields, or like maybe new tech for Tony. Stuff like that. I like ideas like that. So I hope they consider things like that going forward. But overall, I mean, most of the stuff that I've named off when looking at this roadmap, bottom line is it's not actual content, right? And that's going to be the main thing that players complain about. The main pieces of content that are here are the Claw Raid, the power level increase, and Spider-Man. Those are the main pieces of content that are here. So that's 3 pieces of content over the span of 4 months. That's not really the best that it could look, right? Now, I will say as well, right? It's not, what they're doing right now is not the worst thing in the world, because what they're doing right now is they're fine-tuning all the systems, right? I know obviously constantly they're trying to patch out glitches and stuff like that, right? Because we know this game can get glitchy. That's how it's been since day one. So they've been trying their best to patch out as many glitches as they can, and obviously we've seen that they've done a lot of good work with that, so that's a great job with the devs. The game is in a way better state than it was when it first dropped, like for sure, 100%. And now they're just trying to give us a lot more quality of life things. They're trying to fine-tune the game to keep the longevity of it going, and I actually do appreciate that. So even though overall the content is lacking for the last months of 2021, I think it's a smart idea for them to focus on making the game overall better just with what it has to work with already. So I do like what they're doing. I wish there was more content, but I think it is what it is. I do hope that since they're focusing so heavy on quality of life things and just fine-tuning the game up until the end of 2021, I'm hoping that with the start of 2022 and just the first couple months, they come out the floodgates with a lot more. Not necessarily a lot more, because I can't expect a whole lot, but just I hope they start pumping up the content, like actual new events, actual new areas to play in, etc. And I hope they have more information to give us in general on that. So, but if you enjoyed this video, I appreciate you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment with how you think the roadmap looks or what you're hoping for from the future. I am probably going to make another video down the line about the supposed leaks of the characters that are supposedly coming, so I want to look more into that to see exactly what we can expect from this game. But I appreciate you for watching this video.